Alright, hello. I'm going to show you this Riddim track I made. I made part of it on the stream the other day. No one tuned in, and I didn't finish the song. So now I will be showing you how I made what I made. Hopefully the Serum VST shows up now. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. Here you go. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, gang. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, jump. Jump, jump, yeah. Jump, jump, jump. And yeah, that's the song. So I guess I'll just go track by track. We'll break it down. I'm going to start with the drums. These are pattern 7. It sounds like this. So the kick sample is from Splice. I just edited it so it's not quite as loud at the end. And then assigned it to a mixer track, and I have a little bit of EQ to cut the very lows, and then just to cut out some frequencies around 200 Hertz, which seems to accentuate the sub while allowing the click at 100 Hertz to still show through. Then I just cut a little of the highs because it's pretty resonant and clicky. And then I have this sample, which is like a pretty riddim-y sounding snare clap combo layered with a quieter kick. Typically in riddim you'd layer the snare and clap with the kick again, but this one already has it, so I just left it alone. It's in a mixer track with nothing. And then I have this snare layered with it, kind of percussive sounding, and then this just has a small reverb. Whoa, yeah. So that's good. That's a good one. So yeah, nice. And then here for percussion, I have a loop. That is some simple cymbals. I have it EQ'd, cutting the very lows, which there aren't really any of anyway. Yeah, so there's that. And then everything is sidechained to the kick, that main kick, which allows the volumes to duck. And then I guess I'll get into the basses because that's really the main thing. What I've gone over so far sounds like this. And then actually in the second part of the drop I have different hi-hats, and that goes like this. So these hi-hats are also pretty simple. Actually, they're rides. I took the volume shaped them so they're a little shorter. And they just have a little bit of reverb, and I also panned them slightly to create some width. So then it's bass time. The basses sound like this, layered with the drums, I think. So those are cool basses. Here's the first bass patch. I utilize basic stuff, and this is going to be hard for me to go over really well because I made it in the past, yesterday on stream, where the Serum VST didn't show through the stream because I was only recording FL Studio, and it's a whole big thing. Anyway, I have one oscillator A, basic weird shapes. Basically, it's a sine wave, and I have it pitched 2 octaves down. 4 voices, detune at around 50%. And then I turned FM from B on. You turn on oscillator B, drop that volume. I pitched it up to +1. Drop that wavetable position. I turned on asymmetrical wavetable shaping, and then brought in an LFO with this shape to half, which sounds cool, gives it a cool movement, cool shape. Oh yeah, and this is a Reese wavetable. You can fuck around with different wavetables, creates lots of nice different results. Next I have the filter. I'm using the flange filter L6 plus, I guess. Make sure you have it assigned to both A and noise, because I'm using some noise, which I also forgot to mention. Cutoffs down. This macro is automating it. Drives a little bit up. Here's what it sounds like without the filter. And then here it is with the filter. Add some craziness. Right, the noise. It's on AC hum 1. This macro automates the level again. This macro is a slower shape. It automates wavetable position just slightly. So then into the effects. There's a dimension expander. I have the hyper turned all the way down. Size is at 5%. Mix is at like 43%. That just creates some width. A little too much width, really, but width nonetheless. And then the filter is on Combs. Combs filter is cool. It creates lots of weird, like, echoey resonance. Sounds like this. I'll take it off. Yeah. Creates like a reverb kind of sound, like a really short, snappy delay that widens it up, makes the sound a little longer, definitely fatter. I also have the compressor on with the multiband mode. And that's what it sounds like with it off. That's what it sounds like with it on. I don't have distortion on. LFO2, which is the slow triangle one, shapes the cutoff. Then there's a macro. The macro changes the cutoff position and the resonance position on the second part of the drop, which makes it like grittier, a little less clean. It also changes the wavetable position of this main wavetable. Then there's a few more basses in here. Oh, let me go to this next. It's the little sudden death laser sound, which I found from a tutorial by like maybe Rocket Powered Sounds, I think. So shout out to them. It's a noise filter being modulated by a fast low pass, or a noise envelope being modulated by a fast low pass filter. So AC hum 1, I'd pitched it up slightly because I felt like that mixed well with the song. And then there's this fast LFO modulating that low pass. The resonance is cranked, which is how you get that main frequency area in there, and then you can mess with the speed of the LFO to create different zappy sounds, like not that one, but this one. That one's also cool. It looks like this. Different shape, same synthesis, pitched down this time. So those are neat. And then I just kind of throw those in as accents. It's nice to have them leading up to a kick. I really like this one. Here, let me just play this. Like this. It like sort of reverses into the kick almost. Could probably put it here. No. Cool, right? But there's more than one bass playing in this pattern, I think, maybe. There's also this one. So what I usually like to do when I'm making basses is I'll make a first one that sounds nice, and then I'll duplicate it and start by changing the LFO shape, and then after you change the LFO shape you get like a different quality to the sound in terms of shape. So the effects are largely the same. The wavetables are largely the same. The filter is the same. What changes usually is the modulation of the LFO on the frequency modulation. This asymmetrical warp, I believe, is the same as it was. The noise is the same. But this filter is different. So I would recommend just messing around with all these settings. And then you'll end up with something cool. And then I have it layered with this dedicated sub, which is just from the Virtual Riot pack. Honestly, I don't know how to make it, but I did do some post-processing. So anytime you have a sub, these are some things you can do. Oh, I'd also like to mention that I added white noise. And I did that because you can never have too much white noise. I'm not getting output from there. Anyway, I have a limiter on there, which is sidechaining it to the kick. And then I have a wave shaper, adding some slight compression, which really brings out the fuzziness of that noise. And then when the sub bass plays, it's a lot more noticeable. Like that. In a live setting, that really shakes the ground, shakes the speakers. Everyone gets moving, as they often do. So that's kind of the main shit in the drop. And then I'll take you through some smaller features that I have in there. I just automated the volume of the sub bass to fit that of the main bass patches. I did that manually using a limiter and just shaped the gain, which I don't recommend, but it worked. Yeah. And then I have this chop. Jump. It says jump, but I feel like it sounds like it's saying chop. And that's cool, because it's like some rhythm. And people chop the rhythm. Here's a reversed kick. This reverses into the main drums, which is always a good way to make it sound kind of, it builds some tension. You get some reversal. It makes the kick stand out a little more. And it combined with the laser sound is really cool in my opinion. Yeah. Other than that, effects, crash, down sweep, this up sweep that I pitched down, added reverb to. EQ'd out the lows after I pitched it down, which doesn't make much sense, but the reverb is kind of big. It allows the sounds to transfer smoothly into one another. And there may be one more bass, so let's see. This one, the re bass. So this one, I think I made it separately, maybe. It's the Subby-Saw wavetable. Wow. Sounds kind of cool. Subby-Saw wavetable, pitch down 1 octave, and then the basic CJW wavetable, pitched up 3 octaves. Wavetable position is a little bit moved over yonder. FM from B yet again. Level of the wave oscillator B is down. The LFO modulates the level of oscillator A as usual. Let me turn off all the effects and we'll see. Just kind of like a regular screechy, Skrillex-y kind of old school. Like, you know. Oh, wavetable position must be being modulated by this triangle wave, which creates a tonal quality. The effects are pretty similar to the last set of effects. Again, hyper / dimension expander, but the hyper is turned all the way down. Dimension expander is just creating a little bit of width. Distortion. Let me turn these off. Here it is with the dimension expander. Yeah. Distortion. It's on tube, drive up, mix up. Compressor. Multiband. And then the Combs filter again. This creates probably the most significant tonal qualities of the sound itself. Again, it's being modulated by the main LFO shape. Cutoff is getting turned down. And then here's like, it could sound different if you change stuff. Theoretically. Yeah. Anyway, small differences, but they make a difference. That changed it a little more than I... That's better. Anyway, sounds like there's another one playing in that second half. What is it? Oh yeah, it's the so that cool little growl sound that reminds me pretty much exactly of the sudden death music. This one layered with the chop sample sounds really cool, and that's the second half. Actually, what is it? Yeah, that's it's part of. What the fuck is it? It is something. This one. Yeah, so that's again basic weird. Pitch 2 octaves down, oscillator B, pitch 2 octaves up, got that FM. The shape is a little different, a quarter, and it's a ramp with a little bit of a nice little curved decay on there. Creates like a chomp chomp. I feel like it sounds like saying chomp or like ew. 4 voices. The LFO modulates the FM amount and the volume and this noise filter. As always. Reese. Asymmetrical. Same effects. This is an adaptation of the main sound with just a different shape. Really. All of those main basses are being sent here, where they have a limiter sidechaining them to the kick. Free filter that I used. That I didn't use. I used it in this second half of the drop that I didn't use over here. Right here. Yeah, that's a work in progress. Anyway, some EQing. I took out the sub because it's layered with that sub. So I took out the sub, and then I boosted some of these mids because I just felt like they needed a little extra action. And then a lot more is happening in this Maximus, although I don't know how to describe what's happening because I don't know how to use Maximus. I mean, I know how to use Maximus, I just don't know what it's doing. So on the master channel, I pushed it a little inward and reduced the stereo separation. It seemed a little excessive, in my opinion. It was making the sounds seem inconsistent, and they weren't like a big enough wall of sound. I still think in this mix, they might not be a big enough wall of sound. Comment below with your advice. Anyway, and then I go channel by channel, turning on this monitor. Like, you can isolate bands, so I made the low band like 200 hertz ish and below, compressed it a little bit. This should theoretically, because it was just EQ'd, although I should have an equalizer after it, really should just boost the frequencies that weren't cut off by the EQ, so it should just be like 150 to 200 hertz, maybe. Probably not the case in reality. And then I made a little curve here, because you can see I make the curve at the height, make the point at the max peak of the sound in the band. And then I just brought it up a little bit, brought the tension up, which compresses the sound. I think it makes it louder, or makes something happens for sure. And then I did the same with the mids, slight bend in the curve, but I widened the mids. I brought them out just a little bit, and then the highs I didn't compress because they're plenty high, and I widened them a little bit. So here's what it sounds like without this Maximus. And here it is with the Maximus. Yeah, Maximus, I don't know if it really does much. I just feel like it does something. Seems to do something. And then I liked to make some little fills, kinda. Just little sections that have like a vocal sample in them, where you cut everything else, like this one. It says get. And then there's another one. That one. Yeah, and it has that cool snare layered. I really like this phrase, this whole phrase of the drop. Because the snare comes in and adds a little bit of swing. It's on the triplet grid. And then there's this gang sample. Gang. 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 And then I have the little laser guy leading into it, which is great. What a great sound. Gang. Yeah. Gang. Sounds like you're in space, you know. You're really out there with that one. Gang. And then the gang, obviously. Gotta stay ganged, I guess. Drum fill samples come from a sample pack, cut off the last tom. Have the reverse kick again. Same action for the rest of the song. The second part of the drop. Yeah, just different variations. The main thing with this type of music, I'd say, is like listening to it and then playing with the LFO shapes in Serum and just seeing like what works well together, because a lot of it's all about the flow and the like choppiness. I guess in this instance it's pretty choppy, but in like Riddim style, I wouldn't say this is really Riddim. It's probably more of like a tear out. It's a little too in your face to be, I don't know, Riddim's really like psychedelic and wonky and a little, not less distorted, but seems like there's less saw style frequencies. Everything's real siny and like deep Riddim. Purists will talk shit, but it's all about like the flow, which is how each sound plays with the other sounds. They should create little like pockets where it goes down and then it goes up, and there's filters. You know, it should all like flow nicely, and that's not something that's easy to describe, but if you listen to lots of Riddim, you'll start to pick up on different like intricacies of flow patterns. I feel like this video is mostly just me listening to my song. Anyway, that's kind of the main stuff. I also threw a master on there, which should make it way louder. You know, I don't know where the master went, so I won't go over that. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Um, I don't think I did a great job going over this in depth, but if you have any questions, feel free to let me know below, and then I'll try to get back to you on it, and I'll try to get some more detail going next time I make one of these. So, you know, do the subscribe, do the all of it, and keep it real.